I believe it more to be just like happenstance, not reality. But like the stat line doesn't lie, and yeah, it definitely supports. Definitely supports when she's in.
How much are the Chiefs paying her?
That's a great question.
I was talking to my kids the other day, and they were like, "We're bummed out. We don't know if Taylor's going to go back. This might be like my oldest. He's a Swiftie. Big
Is
fan.
he really?
Yeah, big fan. Mm-hmm.
God, she's got so many fans.
Yeah, big fan. But he was saying, he's like, I'm kind of bummed out. I think this might be it for like her last tour.
Yeah, she's on her world tour now, so
Yeah,
she's
but
not
I'm
gonna
like,
be able to go to any games.
Yeah, but he's more worried that she might not go on tour again. He's like, I think this might be it. It's like her big fan. I'm like, no, she loves it.
Hell no,
it's not like she's hurting for money, so there's definitely some motivation there. It's got to be for the love of the game.
No, she ain't stopping that.
She'll keep going.
Of course.
I told him, I said, I think you can rest assured you probably see more Swiftie albums, more albums.
You'll have more concerts to go to.
You'll have more albums, and maybe like smaller. Maybe she'll do smaller venues. You'll get a chance to maybe see her.
Yeah,
I was zoned out. We're talking about Taylor Swift.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because
I brought up that the Waltons own the Broncos.
Oh.
And then he brought up that the Broncos killed the Chiefs. And I said, not really. Because
she's
Mahomes
the biggest thing going.
Mahomes had the flu and Taylor Swift wasn't there. And if you look at Travis Kelce's stat lines, as much as I believe it to just be happenstance, but like if you look at his stat lines of when she's there and not there, it's a pretty big difference. So they didn't like actually beat the Chiefs. You know what I mean?
They beat him though.
Well, yeah. Don't you remember like when you're in high school and stuff, and like your girlfriend was there, you like wanted to play harder?
I don't remember.
You want to impress her?
I don't remember.
I didn't have any girlfriends in high school, so I don't know. I'm just assuming that's how it goes.
You never did?
No, I was hunting
man.
all the time. Like we've discussed this. I was a loser.
And you're not a
most
Swiftie.
people.
Sounds like.
I mean, she's got some good bangers.
But like to be a Swiftie, you got to like really be into Taylor Swift.
You got all the friendship bracelets. I noticed. You got lots.
Yeah, I should have gave her one of mine.
You should put your number.
Shot when I had a chance.
Put your number on it. I think that's how Kelsey got in there, right?
Something like that.
I think so.
Should I start carrying one around when I'm hunting with
your
like,
phone
my
number
information
on it?
That way, if I see like someone I like, just toss it over.
You are
Someone
single.
I am.
You should do that, honestly.
That's probably a better way.
We'll see if that works.
Brady's back from another hunt.
Hey, reset that clock, Omar,
I am.
so we know where we're at.
I'm back.
You're back again. Are you done?
No, I'm not done. Which is crazy to say.
You're not done? Oh, no, you're not done.
I thought you were done.
No, he's not done.
I have my family.
Oh,
hunt. Gosh, Trail.
Minnesota. Your Minnesota whitetail hunt with the fam.
Yeah.
God damn it. I can't help it.
Trails loves giving.
We're just open books, Trail.
I don't ever,
then
it doesn't
Brady
even,
gets- Brady gets mad
I
at
don't
us.
ever even think about it.
But like, I kind of, in a way, am happy if I don't kill a deer in this next hunt.
But you have a license.
I do have a tag. Yep.
And then who else?
The reason why is, so I'm taking my whole family drew tags again. My dad's best friend, myself, my brother, and my youngest brother. And so we usually always try to go out. But like the thing that's cool is like my youngest brother, he's just kind of got into Western big game hunting. I took him out like 2 years ago and he didn't have a tag, but we went around and he fell in love with it. He's like, why haven't you guys told me about this before? And was like, well, you just never like voiced your opinion that you wanted to come out west and hunt with us. We never really bought him points. He'd always go to Minnesota and do the opener and all that stuff. This is the youngest brother, Blake. My middle brother, Bryce, is the one I always take out hunting every year. And so this year, myself,
Blake, Bryce, and Brady.
Yeah, Blake, Bryce,
Then
and
with the
Brady.
bees.
Your mom definitely had some trouble. Like
Yeah.
when one of you
Yeah.
was singled out,
No
she wanted to
question.
yell your name.
So what's the really crazy thing is, though, I have never big game hunted with all my brothers at the same time. We've never hunted together in our entire life.
How much younger is he than you?
So I'm 37. My other brother is 34 and 31.
Okay. You're stacked in there.
Yeah. So like, we've never big game hunted before together. Like never even gone out looking for deer together all at the same time. So like we're going to split it up. My dad and his friend are going to go to our old spots that we've been going to forever. We're going to go exploratory and check out some new areas.
You and the younger brother?
Me and the younger brothers.
Gotcha.
I'm the oldest. So me, Bryce, and Blake are going to go hunt together. And we're really, really excited about that.
So your dad and his buddy are going off on their own?
Off on their own, which I'm kind of concerned about. Like they're very capable. Like,
Those guys are going to deer camp is what they're doing.
yeah, like I've taken them so many years.
I'm seeing a few fifths in their future and they're just hanging out doing deer camp.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Yes.
that's the greatest thing now. Like, shameless plug, Go Hunt Maps. So like, I have this giant folder called like our Monty. Oh gosh,
Minnesota.
Our
You
family.
just did it yourself.
I was talking about my.
Minnesota.
You just outed yourself.
Fuck me.
I didn't even have to. You
No.
did it.
That's the thing. Like, you start getting caught in all these lies again,
You-
just like
you
the
get
last
That's why
podcast.
you tell the truth,
You
and
tell
everyone
the truth,
thinks you're lying.
Everybody
anyways.
assumes you're lying.
So I have a son folder called like our family hunt. And my dad recently was like, oh, I'm looking at all these new areas as well in our old areas. I'm like, here, let me share the folder with you. So I share the folder with him. I share the folder with his best friend. So they have all my waypoints right now, and they're starting to add to it. And I can see them developing a plan, which is really nice. And then now with my brothers, I have another folder shared with them about where
Are
we're
you
going.
monitoring their plan as they go? You're like, yeah, I don't know about that.
Some of them are questionable. They're like, it's like a lot of distance. Like it's going to be a lot of driving around trying to get to some of these
You're
spots
like,
they
you
want to
guys
go
can't possibly cover that
to.
much
Can't cover
ground.
all that country, but we do cover a lot of country on
Is
that.
your dad's best friend retired too?
No, actually, he's still out grinding and working. Yeah. Some people I think are just addicted to it. Just like can't get away.
I don't get that.
You want to retire?
Oh,
Do you think you're going to? I'm
I
not.
mean, knock on wood.
I never will.
You what?
Nah,
Why?
I can't.
I don't think I will either.
No retirement plan. And I've always said this.
But you could if you would if you could.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I thought maybe just being like work at Lowe's or Home Depot, a Walmart greeter.
But the question is, you would if you could though.
Maybe.
Maybe. What do you mean?
I don't know.
Maybe?
I just don't know what I would do all day. I might get bored. I don't know.
Oh, you guys need. No way.
I might
no
get
way.
bored.
Yes, I know.
I saw my neighbor. He was out chopping wood the other day. And I was like,
That
hey.
looks nice.
Yeah. I was like, hey, you got one of those wood splitters? And he's like, no, man, I like chopping wood. And I'm like, I could get into that.
That's my point.
Just a big load of wood out back. Just go out and split.
Training 2-3 times a day, hunting, getting ready,
It looked like fun.
dicking with shit all the time.
How far we've digressed, huh? Chopping wood looks like a good time.
I mean, in retirement, yeah. You can't tell me that if you could, you would, and you can't tell me otherwise.
I probably would.
Yeah, come on now. Would you?
But I have to do something as well, though.
Of course. I'm not talking sitting on the couch drinking Mai Tais all day. I don't like that. I don't do that in general. I can't remember the last time I drank.
That's why
But
I look at my dad. He's retired now,
I would do stuff.
and he has his like whitetail property.
yeah.
And him and my mom just literally go up to the whitetail property all the time, and he just is out ranching.
Farms it.
You wouldn't do
Just
that?
doing
I would do
random
that.
stuff.
I was like, I would love to do that.
That's
He
my
just-
point.
He decides to build a new shed at the property. He goes
Builds
build
a
a
new
new
shed.
shed. He
That's
decides
my
to finally insulate it. Well, they insulate it.
That's my point right there.
He's just got sheds on sheds.
Yeah, sheds on sheds. He needs to build a barn dominium is what he needs to do. Like that'd be freaking sick.
Barn doors are the
I've never
best,
heard
man.
that
That's my
before.
dream.
A barn dominium?
Yeah, the barn doors.
Never heard
I
of
want
It's a
that
big
so
shop
bad.
with living quarters.
I mean,
attached.
I know. I can picture what it would be. I just
Yeah.
haven't heard that term.
The old barn doors. That's my absolute dream. Is to build one of
I
those
just want
on
the shop
property. Yeah,
with
that's-
mounts
and to
and
be able to just
TV,
walk out my bedroom down to the
Reloading
shop.
room in there. Yeah.
That would be fun. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, that's my
you're-
last one of the year.
So you're okay. I expected to walk into the office today and have like a depressed Brady, like just visually be able to see it on your
I'm
your
going to be
demeanor.
depressed after this season. Like this is the banger of all hunting seasons.
And you're
It's
done.
been a wild ride.
I've told you it's all downhill from here.
Yeah.
It's been a wild ride.
When was your Tajikistan? When was that?
That was November and December of 2022. So it's almost been a year. So end of this month, it'll be a year.
So you're technically on the same 365-day year run of right now.
right
within
now.
that hunt as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
When you combine,
Holy
when
hell.
you do like 365 days, like
Yeah.
it's
It's
been crazy.
that's awesome.
You're back.
Got back. Yeah.
Killed
over
a
the
nice
weekend.
buck?
Killed a buck over the weekend, opening day, which I never really planned to do, but right place, right time. And
Did you have any reservations about pulling the trigger on an opening day buck?
pulling. Why would you pull the trigger?
Just that's what normal people do.
You press it, Trail.
Pull the trigger.
Press it like you press it like you're doing touching the little key on the keyboard. It's
Like
light
if you
pressure.
buy an item online, if I was talking to Lorenzo, I'd be like, "Oh, did you pull the trigger on that?"
And I would say, no, Trail, I pressed it.
Hell,
pressed
the
it,
fuck
the
you would. No, you wouldn't. You would say I pulled it.
Hell yeah, I pulled it.
Did you pull the trigger on an OTC deer tag in Arizona?
No, I did not.
You didn't press it. You pulled it.
Did you pull it?
No, I avoided that.
Okay.
Yeah, I looked at them and they're still available.
Would you get one?
Yeah, I got one.
You did?
Omar, young Omar over there, he got one.
He got one.
Omar's over there on the tender, I can tell.
I do.
He's swiping.
Yeah, he was swiping just.
The funny thing though about Arizona's is at first they showed sold out for a while, and I was like, "There's no way, Omar. Keep checking. Like it's gonna like there's something wrong with their website." And sure enough, there was. Like it was crashing all morning, and that's gonna lead into what we're going to talk about today.
It's a good transition, isn't it?
There's going to be a lot more crashing going on in Idaho system.
It's almost like I did it on purpose.
Yeah, you almost did that one pretty good.
Almost like you run the podcast
like
and
I
you
thought
just
almost like on the way down here, the 2 hours. I thought, what's a nice transition into this?
man, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's wild.
On accident.
It is something interesting though. It's like, I don't know, like tech is hard. And servers and all that stuff and anticipating demand, but like you can anticipate demand. Like
Listen, I'm here to tell you, online tech, not hard.
Yeah.
Offline tech, very hard.
Yeah.
Online, there's no excuse. This is crazy.
Like, do you guys know you're doing a set time on a set day for a very limited number of tags for non-residents, and you should anticipate a lot of traffic to your website. You'd think. I mean, I know states don't have a lot of funding, and I'd rather that money go towards wildlife in a real sense than maybe making sure the servers are great. But if it's only, we're talking like $5,000, like, okay, let's just fix this
Talking
server
more
issue.
than that, for sure.
Probably more than that.
I mean, just raise a tag fee for a year. I'd happily pone up an extra $10
Just to make it
to get
seamless.
a
To make the servers better.
user-friendly experience.
I would think most people would be on board for that.
Before we get too deep, let's hit
Promos.
I think you're the guy.
I am.
You know
our
it
guy.
inside and out.
So this podcast is going to be all about what we're going to talk about right now, why you need an insider account. So app season is here. It officially is here as of a couple days ago during Arizona's OTC tag sale date. You're starting to get permits for next year right now. So you need an insider account from Draw Odds, Filtering 2.0. We're going to touch on Filtering 2.0 a lot in this, Hunt Planner, all the tools on GOHUNT Insider. So use promo code podcast when you sign up. We're going to give you 50 points back to GOHUNT Gear Shop. 1 point is $1. So that's $50 back to buy anything. And again, promo code podcast is what you want to use for that, because Insider means time to get tags. And using that research is going to help you get tags.
Isn't it? It's kind of wild, isn't it? Like
It is.
when I was thinking about doing this podcast, I was like, man, that it feels early. It just feels
always
early.
does.
But then I think back on any free time I've had the last week or so. I've been cruising Draw Odds and looking at Filtering 2.0 and adding my points and looking at opportunities.
And what's crazy is like I literally started working on yesterday since I got back early from that hunt, which is nice. Porter, you realize I got back early just so I can work.
Yeah.
That's the main reason.
Yeah, for sure.
But I was starting to work on the 2024 application deadline article. And that thing is a beast in itself, trying to work on. I'm like, dang, it feels early to be working on that. But we're here. It's November 7th. I usually drop that article around the middle of November. So it's time to start thinking about these states. And I just went online the other day and I bought all my South Dakota points again. So I was jumping on to Filtering 2.0, looking at some units. And then I was also updating, my point tracker.
Yep. Yeah. So as a kickoff, I thought this podcast we would cover kind of an application overview. We're already moving, and like Brady said, it feels a little early to me, but also at the same time, you've already had Arizona OTC deer tags, archery tags go on sale, sold out.
What was that, like 3-4 hours they sold out? I think I might have seen them available around 1 our time.
Yeah, so those are already come and gone. You've got, who's ringing? Me?
You.
My bad, Neville. Sorry, Neville.
Not now, Ned Doggy.
But you've got Idaho OTC coming up December 1st.
December 1st.
And then I just thought we would do a kickoff. So we would cover things like, what is a preference point? What's a bonus point? What does over-the-counter actually mean? Is that an actual even relevant term anymore?
Not really.
We throw it around, but there's definitely some instances where it's not truly an over-the-counter opportunity. So I thought we would cover that. I thought we would cover things like point creep, what that means, what a modified preference point or a modified bonus point system looks like. The difference between maybe a license and a tag or a permit and a tag.
Yeah, they are
cover
very
some
different.
of those definitions. Cover some of the lingo. Draw odds. I don't even know if a lot of people understand, why draw odds are important. So I thought we would run through some of those. Get going. I thought Idaho would be a good place to start. You've already brought it up, so let's just run with it.
Yeah.
So talk me through Idaho.
Idaho's process. So we get this question a lot every single year. Is this for the controlled hunts? And no, this is just for
What do you mean by controlled?
the ones that are later in the year that are a draw. So they're limited in tag numbers for both residents and non-residents. And usually that means potential for a little higher quality hunt because of the tag numbers are limited in some of these units and in zones.
So each state calls it something different.
Yeah.
You have some states that call it limited quota. You have some states that call it controlled, like Idaho. I'm trying to think what other states call it something different. There's some different terminology, but essentially when you're talking controlled hunts in Idaho, you're talking limited quota. Utah calls them limited quota.
Limited entry.
Limited entry. I think you've got Montana. You've got the different system with this special limited quota permit.
Yeah.
So you're talking limited quota. So this is different. So December 1st, you're talking general season.
General season. So these are basically, again, OTC. Is that a actual term anymore? This is basically like a mini draw. It's really not over the counter in a sense, but they kind of are.
Over the counter is kind of like morphed into now general. Like it's kind of the general catch-all.
Yep. So this is just for non-residents. We get that, again, we get the same question. Oh, why can't residents pick them right now? Why are non-residents getting the tag before the residents do? Well, residents have their opportunity later. And
they can buy pretty much whatever they want.
Whatever they want. So this is just non-residents. This is just for deer and elk. So you got mule deer, you got whitetail, and you got elk. All right. So that starts December 1st at 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
10 a.m. Mountain Time.
Fan of the Elf? You know that movie?
Yeah.
10 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah.
The listeners will get it that aren't Brady.
Yeah.
Brady's busy watching Lord of Thrones or whatever.
Lord of the Thrones? That's a combo of my two favorite shows. Lord of the Rings
and Game of Thrones.
Yes.
I like Lord of the Thrones.
Sorry, I botched it. Can't believe I just did that.
Combine those two into a series.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, so you're going to actually...
Did we just come up with an idea?
That'd be a great one. Who's going to star in it?
Will Ferrell, obviously.
Okay, so again, like every single year, like this is going to be a podcast side of it. And if you want to just read a strict article every year, I always release an article. So in conjunction with this podcast release, I'm going to have a full-on article dedicated to exactly how to walk through this Idaho OTC December 1st tag sale process. But I'm going to try to summarize it right now. So like I said, December 1st, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. All right. Idaho's already sent out an email saying that your patients should definitely, have a lot of patience to this. There could be some slow times. Plan accordingly.
I like their email. It says, demand for tags is expected to be high. We ask for your patience throughout the day.
Oh.
Yep.
So this is going to be a day. They already know it's going to be a day.
Okay.
And then hunters should plan accordingly. Expect long wait times, system slownesses.
Yep.
Okay.
And limited number of products available for purchase.
At least they're owning up to it on the front end.
Some expectations.
And so what's happened throughout the year since 2021, they switched over and made these basically limited. So general deer tags are limited by the unit. So you have one individual unit where elk zones could occupy several different units in a sense.
Within a zone.
Yep. And so like I just said right there, expect long wait times. I have now suggested people to do, if you're going to try to get a tag, you might have to take the day off of work.
You're probably going to have to.
You're probably going to have to, especially if you have a construction job. You can't be near your computer all day. You're doing sales, whatever it might be. You can't be by your phone, have it long down the whole time, or your computer. You're going to want to take the whole day off. It's just, how bad do you want it? Are you willing to sacrifice a full day off of work to do it? You probably should if you actually want to get one of these tags, because they're going to sell out.
That's my biggest pet peeve with this style.
It's hard for the working person.
Yeah,
very hard.
You lock out a bunch of people just like inadvertently.
Yeah. So you're going to have to be patient. All right. You're going to need to, if you haven't ever applied in Idaho before, you're going to want to set up your Idaho account ahead of time. All right. Go through that whole process before December 1st to make it a lot easier. So let's go through, I was going to break down some of the quotas and all that stuff for the tags.
I will say, before we get going into what you've got to say, I will say in the email, it said, as the sale gets closer, we will be providing additional details and best practices.
Yep.
So I don't think that anything is going to change.
I don't think anything's
My
going to change.
assumption is that nothing will change, but I'm going to throw that in there as a caveat just in case.
Yep.
But go ahead, Brady. Give us the breakdown on how it's been done in the last couple of years, I guess.
Yep. So non-resident hunters, general season deer, and uncapped elk zones are limited to 10 or 15% of the total hunters in each unit or elk zone. All right. Some backcountry deer units have been limited to 5-year average number of non-residents, where overall hunter numbers have been relatively low. So every year they kind of modify the quotas per unit. And so I was comparing last year's numbers to this year's numbers on that PDF proclamation document they supplied. And there is changes. There's changes on the number of tags available for general and the outfitter pool ones. So there is changes. Just be aware of that. And there is a statewide quota as well. So once the statewide quota is hit, no more non-resident tags available. So statewide non-resident general season quota for elk, 12,815 and 15,500 for deer. And the deer is broken down to 14,000 regular deer and 1,500 regular deer or whitetail deer and 1,500 whitetail deer tags. So 14,000 once that's sold out. And there's tags allocated to outfitters. 2024, there's 1,732 deer tags and 2,939 elk tags set aside to be allocated in outfitter pool. And all right, now here's the big one too. So once you set up your portal account, you get all dialed in. So that sale is going to go on at 10 a.m. Like we said, mountain time.
Do you log in at 10 a.m.?
No, you do not want to log in at 10 a.m. And here's the funny thing too.
What about 10:05?
Nope. Nope. No. So you can log in ahead of time.
Okay.
And you're put into a waiting room. All right.
Purgatory.
Yep. So you want to log in ahead of time. So anyone who logs in after 10 a.m., you're going to put at the back of the list. And the list is going to be huge. Like sometimes it's 30,000. Like logging ahead of time. There is no benefit to logging in 4 hours early. Every year someone says, well, my buddy logged in 2 hours early. He had a better number than I did. And my other buddy had a better number than I did. Well, he just got a better randomized number than you did. It wasn't because he logged in earlier. We had guys in this office who logged in at 9:51 and I've been logged in for 45 minutes and he got a better number than I did.
Okay.
So you do want to log in ahead of time. You want to be in that little waiting room. And then once 10 a.m. comes, you're going to be put into another little post waiting room, I guess you could call it.
You're in spirit prison.
Yep. Yeah. So that's where then all those people in there are going to be randomized and you're going to get a number and it's going to be like, hey, you are number 15,000.
You're going to get a random number in a queue.
Random number in a queue. So you'll see this little screen of this little human icon or whatever, and it'll show you as you're walking through.
It's like when you're waiting for Taylor Swift tickets.
Yeah, when you're waiting in line for tickets.
Your little guy's marching across the line.
Yeah, there we go.
It'll also show you your estimated time. It'll show you how many people are ahead of you. And as some of these tags start to sell out, on the bottom, it'll start updating like, hey, blah, 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 elk zone sold out, gone.
Gutted.
Gone. Can't get it again. And then, it'll show you the deer units and all that stuff too.
Let me ask you something. So in Idaho, you have to buy a hunting license.
Yep.
It's $185.
$185.
Do you buy your hunting license prior to trying to get a tag?
So to make it easier, and again, if you buy your hunting license ahead of time, I do. Okay. I set it to annual renew every single year.
You do. You're annually going to Idaho, or you're buying a hunting license.
Reason being is if I'm already going to try to do this, I'm going to be applying in the control draw for something later on. So you need to have that hunting license to do the control draw. So I might as well make it easy and do it ahead of time. Now, if you do it ahead of time and you're not going to apply in the control draw and you don't get one of your units because they sell out, you cannot get a refund on that hunting license.
You're out the $185.
So you can go into it, and once you finally get in, you want to get your deer unit or your elk zone. If you try to add it to your cart without adding the hunting license first, it'll prompt you to add the hunting license because you need to have a hunting license in conjunction with the tag. So that's probably the better way for most people to do it, is maybe not buy it ahead of time unless you know you're going to apply later. Otherwise, you're going to be out $185. You're not going to get that refunded. There's no way.
So I buy mine kind of as an excuse. Like I buy it and I'm like, I'm going to buy this and then I'm going to try to buy a general season elk or deer tag or both. And then if I don't get one of those in a zone that I like, I'm going to use that as an excuse to then apply in the controlled draw.
Yep.
And it's like, I know I'm if I don't draw a controlled tag, maybe I don't get any of the general season tags, but at least it's like giving me kind of an excuse to play the game, I guess. And I know I'm out $185, but man, the reality is like, if you want to hunt, you got to pay to play, I guess.
Got to do it.
People are going to hate that when I say it. And I mean, people are going to hate that we're talking about this. I think maybe some folks, you get those naysayers that are like, oh, there's too much pressure. Listen, this is an opportunity that exists for people. We're playing the same game that everybody else is.
Yep.
So like, this is just information. Take it and do with it what you will. We're going to all attempt to get tags.
Yeah. We're not hiding any information here. We're giving it all out.
And I would encourage people to do the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the hunting license thing, like I said, you can buy it ahead of time. You can have it annual renew.
Okay.
or you can do it the time of, but you have to add it to your cart with a hunting license, hunting tag.
Before you talk about like strategy on how to get in, and I assume is that where you're going next? I
Yeah.
assume, okay, like on what the kind of the work that you need to have done prior to even getting into this whole system and trying to buy a general season license. Why Idaho for deer or elk as a non-resident in your opinion?
Why?
Yeah, why? Like Idaho better than Montana? Is it better than? I mean, what are your thoughts on? Just
I don't think it's
just
any
hunting
better.
in
I don't
general?
think it's better or worse. I just enjoy hunting a sweet state.
Gotcha.
And so back in the day, it was, I think people of Idaho hated it because it was always an afterthought, like, oh, just buy your hunting license and buy your tag. And if you don't draw somewhere else, that's your backup plan. Well, Idaho is no longer a backup plan. This is like a main plan.
It's your backup to your. It's the pre-backup.
Yeah.
It's not It's not as backed up as Colorado's backed up, but
No.
it's a backup.
I mean, deer numbers, as most people know, as a whole are down. They've had hard winters in, southeast Idaho for the longest time. Like deer numbers not where they're at, but you can still go out and have a good hunt.
You've hunted. I don't know if I can say this.
Have I?
You've maybe hunted in and around that state.
Yeah.
I mean, you've certainly talked to people that have hunted that state.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your gut feeling on what deer numbers look like? What's
Bad, to be honest.
poor?
Poor.
Okay.
Poor. And I'm not trying to say that to scare people away. I haven't.
think
I
he
missed
is.
out on this one.
Yeah.
I missed out on Idaho last year, and I could have picked one up on those leftover periods as well because they had 8 or 9 of those throughout the year, and I covered all those articles because I was in Tajikistan last year during December 1st. But
Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, just throwing that out there.
I mean, while all you guys
Yeah.
were out trying to get Idaho deer tags, I was shooting
Out
a
there
bit
killing
curly.
a Marco Polo.
yeah. Well, I wanted Idaho badly, but I
Gotcha.
figured, like, well, it's a good excuse for mine not to go this year. But last year we talked about it. Whatever, I'll talk about it. I barely saw any bucks. When I hunted it before. I have a bunch of friends who hunt similar areas. I'm not going to say where they're at, and they had multiple years in a row of not turning up any mature deer. And these are phenomenal mule deer hunters. All right. Talk to other friends. Also seeing very few mature deer. Yeah, there's deer numbers, but mature deer are definitely down.
So your expectation is that probably the maturity of the deer there, the numbers probably aren't there like they were maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah, they're
5 years
definitely
ago.
not where they were, which is a very sad thing.
And look, that's not an Idaho thing.
No, it's
Pinned
not.
down to Idaho. That's the reality of the West right now.
Yeah.
Like if you're going into any hunt in the West, it's like, yeah, it's not what it was 4 or 5 years ago. It's
Yeah.
just what it is.
And it's like we talked about in some other podcasts. It really comes down to Mother Nature.
Yeah.
It's not really a state thing. It's not really a management thing. It's not really a hunter thing. It's not a non-resident versus resident thing like everyone was almost pointing to. It's not that.
Non-resident shot all the deer.
Yeah, I guess they did.
for sure.
That's what happened.
Yeah, it literally comes down to a Mother Nature thing. And we had brutal droughts. We've had brutal winters stacked on top of brutal winters. Like the time they get to recover, they get slammed again. And then
So know that going into it.
yeah, so definitely know that.
Yeah. Going over to the better species of the two elk.
Oh,
Antelope.
I mean, it's surprising that elk seem to be doing quite well. I mean,
Yeah.
they are the better of the two. So it makes
more resilient for sure.
definitely more resilient. So the elk herds are doing pretty good
I'm just gonna
by most accounts. All the data that I've looked at, it looks by and large. I mean, there's some pockets, but for the most part, they're either at or above objective.
Yeah.
I would say trophy potential's pretty good for general season units.
Yeah.
Certainly, I would say better than and Idaho. I would say is better as far as trophy quality goes than Colorado. If you're looking at those as more of a general season type of opportunity, I would give the nod to Idaho.
Yeah. Agreed.
Numbers about good, trophy quality good. The hardest part about it is just getting the zone that you want for general season elk in Idaho.
So when we talk about, let me ask you some questions about this. We're going to talk about states, unfortunately, but we're going to Idaho, Colorado, Montana.
Mm-hmm.
So give me the reasons why. Well, give me a reason maybe why Idaho, because like other states, you're kind of you're untapped on. You don't know who are going to go where because it's basically you have a Montana general season elk tag. You can float around to all the general units. You don't know how many people are going to jump into a unit. Colorado's kind of the same way. You don't know how many pressure. Like you could have 4,000 people hunting your same unit, and you don't know. Whereas Idaho, you know how many non-residents you're going to be kind of competing with. You don't know how many residents are going to be jumping in there.
Sure.
So it's kind of a great option in that sense because you kind of know hunting pressure before you go
Yeah, and
you hunt.
I would say Idaho in that regard is a great, quote unquote opportunity state still, where you can get into the system. Hopefully you get a good number, and we're going to touch on kind of the planning and prep that you need to do, but provided you get the zone, or maybe like the first 5 or 6 zones that you've done your research and you've done your due diligence in trying to find an opportunity, I would put it in that order. I would say Idaho is an awesome opportunity because, like I said, the objectives are great. They're at or over objective in terms of population. Trophy potential is actually quite good. And, since they've gone to a limited, quote unquote, limited quota for non-resident general season permits, bad thing because you can't get a permit just basically over the counter, but good thing in that it has limited the amount of pressure. So you definitely have reduced the number of non-residents in a zone. And then there's a ton of country. So I would say it's right up there. As far as in terms of opportunity type elk hunting, it's highest on the list for me.
Let's talk about pressure. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've both, I guess, hunted there.
I don't feel any. It just rolls off me.
We both hunted there.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on pressure pre and post these changes?
I would say, do
you feel it's changed?
Not all that much. I would say take it with a grain of salt because I'm not typically trying to hunt where maybe everybody else or some people would be, but I would say not all that much.
I don't really see it either. I don't run into a lot of either residents or non-residents in places I go. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Maybe I'm hunting in the wrong spot, but
maybe I'm just hunting where the elk aren't. No, I was seeing elk though.
Yeah.
So I would say generally no, not like Colorado.
Yeah.
So hunt pressure, I would say it's definitely it's a step up from a state like Montana or Colorado, where it's a little bit more limited, and we can go back to even prior to this system, it just felt like there was generally less.
Yeah, I would agree.
And the trophy quality is good. So I would say if you're looking at opportunity type of states, and we've kind of thrown the 3 of them out there, I would put Idaho right at the tip top. So try to get a permit. So let's dive into pre-prep. What do you?
Okay. Pre-prep is going to be big in Idaho. All right. So you want to know, Idaho's a giant state. You have a ton of different hunt units for deer. You have a ton of different zones for elk. So you want to be able to narrow that down ahead of time. You don't want to go into this being like, I don't know, what unit am I going to get? I don't know anything about this. Again, shameless plug. This is where Insider comes into play. So before this, so for the next,
right now,
for the next 3 weeks,
this podcast drops.
When this podcast drops, you're going to want to jump into filtering 2.0. You want to go to Idaho. You want to click on mule deer. Go to Idaho. Click on elk.
Or elk.
Or whitetail deer.
Okay. Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
It's a great state for all 3 species.
You ever killed a whitetail in Idaho?
Killed 2.
You have? Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
Back when it was true general tags, over-the-counter tags.
Good bucks?
Fun.
What were you seeing as far as deer numbers?
Great deer numbers.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was seeing multiple bucks a day.
You never hear anybody talk about it.
No, I was in college. Obviously,
I've never even looked at it, really.
It was extremely easy when I was in Montana. But yeah, 2 really good bucks, 130 maybe.
You guys remember that? I can't remember the name of the film. Neville shot that buck.
With
a big mule deer. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But prior to that, they went on a whitetail hunt in Idaho, and he missed a great buck.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, solid buck.
Yeah.
That was, better than any of the bucks I saw or shot. But yeah, I did it back in the day. It was awesome. Why not? Go kill a whitetail in the mountains. I thought it was awesome. That's why I did it.
So you always had that opportunity.
Maybe that's a little tidbit. Maybe if you want to go
save a mule deer, kill a whitetail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it 2 years in a row.
Huh. Right on. Anyway, carry on.
Okay, so the tip part of this, so filtering 2.0, you want to go into Idaho, then select mule deer. Obviously, this will work the same way for elk. All right, I'm just going to explain the mule deer part of it. So right now I have state Idaho. I select my species as mule deer. It's going to show me all the units in the state on filtering 2.0. But to narrow it down even further, I would scroll down to the season dates and select general or rifle over the counter, which is basically your general tag. So now it's going to show you 78 total units in Idaho. So now is the time when you want to start narrowing down, okay, where do I want to hunt? Because you need to narrow it down to the unit level, because when you're picking up a general season deer tag in Idaho, it's the unit level. So now you have a lot of options. You want to start narrowing those down. That's where filtering 2.0 is literally a game changer. It allows you to scroll through all the options.
Where do you look?
Where do I look?
So you've got all these units. I'm just curious. Are you looking at Are you looking at more like population information? Are you looking at like 4-point plus better information? Are you looking at harvest statistics? Are you looking at like country that you want to hunt? Like what for you?
For me personally, I put more emphasis on country, on habitat, on the type of adventure I'm looking for.
Gotcha.
In a sense, I look at percent 4-point. I don't really look at a lot of harvest success because I don't know. I feel like harvest success is what it is. You know, I mean, I feel like I could probably, if I see like, oh yeah, it's, 40% or 30%, it's like, okay, those are still good numbers. I feel like I could still tag out. I'm not looking for like, oh, I need to find 60 plus harvest success. Like they're killing deer all the time every year. Like
that's not you.
I don't put a lot of weight in that.
That's you.
Yeah.
No way.
Freshman year of college.
Really?
Yeah. That's your buck?
One of them, yeah.
We gotta throw that up.
Yeah, that is.
Oh no, maybe that was my senior year. I don't know. Anyways,
I can't.
Yeah, it's a good buck though. It was fun.
I'm just looking at you. I can't believe that's you.
Yeah.
Look what a young strapping buck you
man.
were.
Yeah.
No way. Yeah, that's a good buck.
It's fun.
That's
A lot
awesome.
of fun.
So I don't put a lot of weight on harvest success, but I will look at percent 4-point or better because I want to find mature deer.
What if it's 10% or lower?
10% or lower?
Buggy at all?
It might a little bit, but
I don't know. I'm throwing out theory. I don't even know if
I
there
might
are
look
any
at,
units.
I'd probably want to figure out how many hunters there actually were that were surveyed then. I mean, if it's
Gotcha.
very few number, compared to a very large number, that's a totally different story there.
That's a good point.
And if people are maybe people are holding out for giants.
Hunter survey's part of that equation.
Yeah. So maybe people are just holding out and they're willing to eat their tag, which is what I did, several times hunting that state. Just ate my tag. So I was looking for a giant. So I had opportunities to kill. Most people probably would have shot some of those deer, but I was looking for an old giant deer. And so I was happy, bringing that harvest success down. But the great thing is too, like all those filters in filtering 2.0, you can use those to your advantage. You can filter by harvest success. If you're just looking for, I just want to go hunting with my buddies and I want to pick up a tag and we want chances at deer. Most of the time, high harvest success could equal higher populations of deer. Not always, but it's a good potential correlation for that. You can filter by trophy potential, filter by public land. So a lot of different ways to narrow that down. You can sort by percent 4-point or better. You can sort by public land. You can sort by harvest success once you start narrowing those results down. So eventually then with filtering 2.0, you're kind of just picking your ending and you manipulating the filters to kind of figure out a hunt that meets the criteria you're exactly looking for, which is the big key thing here. Because a lot of people might never have hunted this state before and you want to narrow it down. That's where the filters come into play greatly. Because it's hard to say like 78 units. What is, the border of Canada, Unit 1 compared to Southeast Idaho? Well, they're two vastly different habitats. Like you think you're just going to pick up, Unit 1 and go up there and glass a bunch. Well, you ain't going to be glassing all that much because it's thick timber.
Yeah.
And that's where like once you jump into a unit profile, then, it's going to start describing that unit, showing you those terrain photos, showing you it's steep, it's nasty, it's thick. But the cool thing is, probably a bunch of old deer that are just dying of old age, or a bunch of big bucks that are just dying of old age in some of those places because they can't get glassed up and it's harder hunting. So if like your hunting style is,
if you just want to still hunt,
I just want to still hunt in the timber and try to find some bucks, and that's my style. And I'm fine maybe seeing 3 deer in 1 week, but could potentially be for a giant. That could be the hunt for you.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of like open clear cuts and stuff. I'm trying to pinpoint that unit, but
Lorenzo, do you look at elk any differently than mule deer? Like if you're looking for a hunt to go on in Idaho, you're looking at the general season units that are available to you. Like from your standpoint, what do you start looking at as far as filters? Are you looking at harvest success? Let's say, we'll say archery, for example. Where do you start? Trophy potential, harvest success, land ownership?
Land, like public private land for sure. But like those, more, I don't mind the treed up units for like those.
If they're bugling.
General, like I don't mind it. I can't stand it for mule deer.
Yeah, I
Can't stand it.
Yeah, me
so
either.
like I do a lot of like land scouting first and foremost. I don't really the harvest success. I look at it just as kind of like a general thing, right? Because it's all about the number surveyed, who was willing to take, who was all that stuff. But so I look at it for sure, kind of like a final decision. But I do a lot of land looking before public, private.
Maps.
Where's the good land at? Maps. Yep, that's where I start.
Gotcha.
What about you?
I think it's interesting that Idaho, which I was going to point out, I think it's really cool that they collect data when they do their surveys on the number of 6-point plus bulls that are harvested. Same with bucks, 4-point plus.
Yeah.
think that's neat data to look at because you can pretty quickly start to see trends in areas where they're pulling more mature animals out of. I look at population data. So like I'll look through the application strategy articles where we've got some population data. I do look at that. I want to know if, number of elk in that potential, area. I look at the number 6 point plus because I'm not hung up on a number by any means for score, but I think it's interesting to be able to look at an area by the number of 6 points that were harvested.
Yeah, I haven't looked at that. It's probably, interesting to think about it right now. It's probably something I should look at.
Yeah. And the thing about archery elk hunting, and that's primarily what I'm looking at, your harvest success is generally going to be, 10 to 20% anyway. It's not going to be like this giant fluctuation. It's not like there's often a unit that's going to blow all the others out of the water. You just don't see harvest success in general season units that are, 30 to 50, 60%. So I don't worry too much about harvest success. I do look at it, but it's kind of an afterthought. Yeah. I'm with Lorenzo. I'm looking at maps quite a bit. I want to hunt the type of country, I'm not really looking, I don't really like a big thick timbered unit, even if it's for elk. I like some open space. Maybe I get claustrophobic or whatever it is, but I like some open space, so I'm looking at vegetation and maps. I would say those are probably at population based 6 point plus, and then harvest success kind of as just interest.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Barometer check.
Barometer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we're the same. You guys on the elk side, me on the mule deer side. Habitat's big. Love looking at maps.
How deep? So you get your line. You get to the day. You're at December 1st. How many? We're there. I'm jumping the gun.
Jumping the gun a little bit. So we're still on the research side.
Yep.
And this is where I want to talk about. You want to have a big list of units picked out already. Mm-hmm. And this is where on filtering 2.0, once you get those filters narrowed down, and you're like, well, I love this unit. My number one choice is my number two. Like maybe get 5 units that you're really keen on, that you've done your research on. I'd be happy to get one of these 5 deer units. I'd be happy to get one of these 5 elk zones.
Is 5 as deep as you get?
I might go up to 10. Mm-hmm. I've definitely seen a lot of them sell out to the point where you're like scrapping that minute. Like you can see it real time. So as you're actually watching it, you can see which ones are getting sold out. And then you'd be like, all right, I need to start researching now. A bunch of mine got picked up. So probably should do some more. But this is where it's great though. Now in filtering 2.0, so once you get those narrowed down, you can actually save those units to your hunt planner and start creating like, hey, this is my 2024 Idaho general season deer hunt plan. And these are all the units I'm saving. Then you can start to rank them. You can start to add notes. You can jump in the unit profiles, figure out what things you really love, add that to your hunt planner. And then you have like a detailed portfolio of your 2024 Idaho plan.
Yep.
And then I'm jumping over to maps like you guys are, and I'm starting to look at the public private. I'm looking at, all this other data. But even before I might jump into maps, keep in mind too that Idaho is a bunch of different season dates on I'm just talking about general rifle because I'm a big rifle guy. So like there is different season dates. Most season dates are October 10th to the 31st. Yep. There's some that are October 10th to like November, first week of November. And there's some that are November 1st to November 14th on general rifle. So you can get some potential rut dates on these general season hunts. Most of those are in like, the northern part of Idaho, but that's something to keep in mind as well. So you can also sort on filtering 2.0 by season dates if you want, like, hey, I just want to hunt November. That's the only time frame I have. Show me all the units in Idaho for general deer that have season dates that are potentially available to me to actually go hunting.
I hate to do this. I got to go pee.
Go for it.
I went before, I swear to God I did. And I was like, I'm going to make it.
Too much
I got
brand
to go again. So
water.
you guys, we can stop and come back.
Yeah, we'll stop. We'll be right back. And we're back. All right. I want to ask you two a question though, because you guys do way more research for Idaho and hunt Idaho a lot more than me. I haven't hunted it in a long time. But like you're talking about, you pick 5 or even 10 units that you go into. Do you guys genuinely think there's like a top 5 tier or a top 10 tier? Or do you think it hits a level? And if so, at what level is it that it just becomes like the best? So there's like the best of the best, and how many units is that? And then like the best of the rest, and how many units is that, would you say, in Idaho?
I don't for deer, to me, I don't think there's a best of the best when it comes to general. I think it says, what's your individual goal? What's your goal in mind? Do you want to go deep in the backcountry? Do you want to have a certain hunt? Do you want to have a wall tent camp? Do you want to find a unit where other buddies can join in with you as well and have a good hunt atmosphere?
That's
like I've hunted
question.
all across the state now. I've hunted a lot of different units I used to live in, Bonners Ferry, Idaho. I used to live in Unit 1 back in the day. Like I used to live in the thick of the thick, and I thought that was great up there. And it's just kind of what you're looking for, what your expectations are. Like
you look like you just now emerged.
What?
You look like you still live there.
Dude, you should have seen me back in the day when I lived in Bonners Ferry.
No, that's a good question. Actually, that might be one of the best questions I've had asked about Idaho, to be honest, because I think people think that there are units. I'm going to talk about elk. Like, okay, this unit is the best unit, and I mean it's not like it's a big secret. There is a unit that will a zone, I should say, that's going to sell out quicker than all the others, and it's based on kind of word of mouth. The population objective is above. The bull to cow ratio is good. And there's just a lot of chit chat about it, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that one always sells out. And then there's probably 5 or 6 others, I would say, that are kind of mid tier, I'd put it. And then, kind of the rest are all pretty similar, right? Yeah. I actually don't think the quality is that much different between all of them, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And in reality, I think it would behoove someone.
Behoove.
That's
a good word.
Look how smart we are.
Did you like that? Yeah. That's the extent of my... That's the reach for me today. Actually think about this quite a bit, because every once in a while I hear myself say something on a podcast, and I'm like, I was completely the wrong use or context of that word. Like I completely screwed that up. I always think, I need to get better at that. And then I also think like I'm going to come up with like some big word that I'm going to throw in, but behoove's not really that big, but that's the one I'm going to go with today. Yeah. I actually think it would be better to start to identify, kind of work backwards. Like what units are the units that don't sell out that quick? Like what are the ones that are typically the bottom of the list? And there's a reason that they're probably bottom of the list. But I think if you were able to pick up some of those units and do it consistently year after year after year, those areas, those hunts could be as good or better than some of these top tier units. Yep. Because you get to learn them. Sure, there may not be the populations that are in some of the other units, but there's still elk there. There's still opportunities to go hunt. And I think I've always said this, where's the best unit to kill a big buck or a big bull? Well, it's the one that you know.
One that you know. Yep.
Absolutely. It's the one that you hunt consistently. It's the one that you know. So I think it would be advantageous to kind of figure out what is the stuff that's remaining and hunt it as often as you can.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot in other states too. Like, you can't just throw true potential at 180, and instantly be like, I'm only going to hunt these units and skip all the rest of the units. Like, you're missing out. I talk about a lot in Colorado, all those data report articles I do every year. Like, yeah, people can figure out the cream of the crop units pretty easily, and then people know the bottom. Well, places that, a lot of us hunt are usually in that middle to low areas because we can pick up the tags every single year. And you said you can learn a unit. You can be way more successful than anyone should killing a giant in it.
Does that answer your question? Is that what are your thoughts?
That was a genuine question from me, just as a hunter, as being one of the guys in the public. Because I mean, in all reality, I've been out of Idaho since the change. I've been out of it for quite a while. I haven't hunted it in a long time. Thinking about getting back into it, just finding more opportunities. I want to go back to a place I haven't been in a long time, and obviously being in the office and seeing you guys and doing all this stuff, that was just a genuine question of like, is there actually that best of the best? And it makes total sense what you're saying. I would prefer to find the tags that I know I could get every year and just stay focused on those ones and then hunt it 3, 4, 5 years in a row. That is what I would prefer.
I mean, in terms of quality, you got to think that these are general seasons. These are managed for general season opportunity. So it's not like you're limiting. The limited number of tags is based on population, right? So it's not like they are managing those for a better trophy potential. Yeah. They're a general season unit. So the trophy potential, I would say, between the best that everybody's going for and then, the unit that's still remaining, trophy potential is probably not the limiting factor there. It's not the bottleneck by any means. It's probably just a population thing, and it's the amount of opportunities, right? So you go out and you hunt a unit that's got a great population. They're way more elk than their objective. Chances are you're going to have more encounters. There's just more elk, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that there's bigger bulls in that unit.
No. Yeah, which is not what I would care about going into Idaho.
Yeah, and I think if you looked through like the 6 point or better, you'd probably start to see that it's it's not really significantly tied to, those units are the quote unquote best units.
Yeah.
I've hunted a lot of different places, and I've had a lot of fun hunting all these different places. And I don't think there's not one that I'm like, oh yeah, I want to go back to it every single year. Like I've tried a bunch of new areas, and I'm always having a great time. I'm always seeing bucks.
So, I would say still, there's definitely more elk, and more elk is a good thing, right? More elk is great because you're going to have the opportunity to maybe have more encounters, and more encounters equals a better chance to succeed. But it doesn't really cross off the fact that there's some good units with less elk in it that if you had the time to put into scouting and you hunted those more consistently, you couldn't do great. And I know people that have done this. They've hunted areas that are, big desert units, right? Where there's definitely elk. It's just you got to have some local intel or the ability to go out and scout and hunt hard. And days, the more days you've got that you can string together, the better your chances of tagging out are going to be. So, which is interesting. That's a big tidbit right there.
Yeah.
For anybody that's listening,
It's the best answer I've ever got. I'll tell you that.
I don't know.
It is.
I try.
I'm speaking from the heart. It's the best one I've ever got.
But yeah, I'm still going to try to get the units, and I agree with you. I think 5 is kind of what I've got usually. I've probably got 10, but I've got 5 that I'm like, these are the 5 I ever wanted to do. I will say that in the last couple of years, given the demand, and I think my number last year when I finally got my spot in the line was like 30,000, 32,000. It was.
Yeah, I've never been below 10.
I've always been. Must be. I think if you're from Utah, it's
get
either
locked
bad Wi-Fi or they just genuinely hate Utahns.
They
which
got
I can understand.
geofence on Utah. Let's lock these guys
I can
out.
understand that, but I've always had a high number. So I will say I have started to increase my research. It used to be that I would only look for maybe 5 units, and I'm like, well, I'll get one of those, and then that kind of went to 10, and then maybe even above and beyond that. Now I'm looking at multiple opportunities, all the zones, just because you never know when your time comes up in line to purchase a permit, what is going to be available.
Yeah. And at the end of the day too, you're hunting. It's fun just to pick up a tag.
Yeah.
Like if your unit sells out, whatever.
And you said it's not necessarily a backup, but it is still backup. If you get a spot in line, you can purchase a permit, you've got a tag.
And you can always, don't promote this too hard, but you can always return it later. That's why the return tag process is there.
So
you're not going to get a full refund. It just depends on the time of year you return it back in. It might be 80%, 50%, whatever it is, 25% later on. But the amount you get back slowly goes away if you hold on to this tag for a long period of time. But you can turn it back in, and that's why it was always like people's backup plan. You pick it up now, figure out what you draw and the other big state draws. And then if you fit in your schedule, you fit in your schedule. If not, you can turn it back in.
So what happens if somebody buys a general season tag and then they put in for a controlled hunt and they draw a controlled hunt?
Yep. So if that happens, you can either elect to keep your general tag, or you'll have to turn in your general tag and
purchase.
Then get your controlled tag and purchase that. But then later on, once that, usually August 1st, sometimes August 3rd or 5th, once that period comes, that's when residents and non-residents can pick up a second tag. So then if there's tags left over still, now you can pick up a general season tag as well. So you could have a controlled hunt tag then, and then you could have a general tag. But before that date, you can't do that. You'll have to either turn your general one in and elect for the controlled hunt.
Yep.
So you still, people who want to do it now, definitely could still just pick up a tag and do the controlled hunt later.
Does the run us through the fiasco of last year? And
well, I was out last year, but fiasco in general.
So I can tell you this. So last year I tried to log in at like 9:55, right? Couldn't get logged in. It just kept timing out, and it was probably 10:15 by the time I actually could get into my account. And at that point, it did assign me a spot in line. I didn't feel, and I don't know for sure if this is the case, I didn't feel like I had a equal chance as everybody else. I felt like I was probably placed in the line after the fact when I got logged on at 10:15.
Okay, yeah, cool.
And I don't know if that's the case. It's just my speculation. And probably part of that has to do with the fact that I was so far back at that point. God willing, that won't happen this year.
So you're saying you tried to do it at 9:55 and it just kept timing out. By the time you actually got in, it was after the 10, so then you're definitely going to the end of the line.
Well after 10. Yeah, it was like 10:15. Yep. So I would say, there's nothing that you can do for that. I know that it got to 10 o'clock and I still couldn't log in, and 10:05 still couldn't log in. I started calling the self-help desk, and
self-help
desk. It would go straight to voicemail, and I think at one point it said that there were like 8,000 people ahead of me in line, so there was definitely people that were calling self-help desk trying to get that figured out. So I know a bunch of people couldn't log into their account as well. I hope that the kinks have been worked out. And again, this is it's nothing that we can do. It's nothing that, we can predict. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm just hoping that it doesn't. I hope that everybody gets a chance to log in at 10 a.m. and then you are truly randomly placed in a queue.
And nothing crashes then afterwards. Because it's also been the case too, here in this office, I've heard from multiple other people online that they get logged in, they're in the waiting thing, and by the time it goes over to select your tag, the system crashes. Mm-hmm. And then it kicks you back into the line again. Or you're in the checkout phase, and you think you got your tag, and then it somehow crashes and you go back again.
Yeah.
So they should, we talk about getting the kinks ironed out a lot, but it's this is not just the only sale date they have. Like we said, there's 8 or 9 other sale dates throughout the year of return tags.
This is definitely the highest demand.
But it's the highest demand, but those other tag processes, they'll still have their hiccups and still have the other things going on. So they can try to iron it out 9 more times throughout the year to try to get it dialed, but it seems like they just use the same system all the time. And
let me ask you a question. Can you show up in Idaho and buy a tag?
Yep. So you can also show up at any licensed vendor, and you can also call their phone number and try to purchase tag over the phone.
If you can get through.
If you can get through. So you do have 3 options: the online, in person, or try to phone.
What's the best
option?
I mean, the best option is whatever somebody can do, but does any of the 3 give you a better chance at?
I don't know. Rumor is that maybe showing up in person could give you a better chance. It seems like I talked to more people that actually show up to a game and fish office that seems like they have a better experience. I don't know if that's the case or not. I don't know that it's foolproof. So I would say that's just hearsay on my part.
Again, that takes some dedication.
That's
a full day after work. You got to drive long distances.
Are you
basically driving
it?
I don't know.
I am.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, my folks live in northern Utah, and I've thought, if I want to hunt Idaho this year, I've tried it the other ways in the past with some mixed results. Maybe I'll drive up there, I'll stay the night at my folks', and then just pop up early in the morning and just see what happens.
What if you show up and there's a guy in front of you, multiple guys in front of you, you're like fifth
from Maryland?
You're like 5th in line. Mm-hmm. And he just has so many questions.
UFC fight.
And he just has question after question, and you can't get to the counter because this guy just keeps wanting to ask other questions. And he wants to know, what's this unit compared to this unit? So he's asking unit comparisons, and you never actually get up to pick up your tags.
I would say, listen, bro, I got this tool for you. It's amazing. It's called Insider.
You can figure this out
from this brand called
GOHUNT.
GOHUNT. You can sign up right now on your phone.
Have your research done by the time you get to the
right
line.
now. Yeah. Let me handle it. I'll show you this. Let me handle this.
So you're going to camp out? You're going to like you're buying a Swifty ticket?
I don't know. But I do think I will probably drive up and just stay the night and then pop up in the morning and be there, I don't know, half hour. I'm not going crazy.
Yeah.
And if I'm 5th in line or if I'm 100th in line, so be it. But I am interested to see what the experience is like. I kind of look at Idaho. I would love a tag in Idaho. Don't get me wrong. Last year, I did the whole thing. I gave up on it at 4:00 in the afternoon. Like my number still hadn't come up. I was just like, yeah, bag it. I don't, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then applied for control draw. But yeah, just kind of an experience. I would love a tag in Idaho, but I might give it a go just to see. And again, it's not open. I mean, I live 8 hours, I guess, probably, which it's not a short jaunt by any means, but my folks live relatively close. So I might give it a go and just see what happens. Mm-hmm. Yep. We'll see.
That'll be interesting.
So take home for Idaho. Wrap it up in a bow.
Okay. So again, December 1st, 10 a.m. That's when the tags go on sale. You want to log in
10 a.m.
10 a.m. I don't know the reference, but sure.
You know the Santa Claus reference from the Elf? Do you?
Yes.
Turtle fan of the Elf?
Watch it all the time.
I've watched that movie a ton.
You have?
Yeah, I don't understand the reference.
It's pretty famous anyway.
Okay. So 10 a.m. You want to log in ahead of time.
10 a.m. PST?
Mountain time.
Yep.
So again, the time you log in beforehand does not matter, does not make your odds better. You can log in an hour, 30 minutes, 5 minutes beforehand, but you might have some trouble. So maybe try it earlier. Get logged in, stay logged in. Don't refresh your page. Don't get off that page. Don't cancel and go back out. Sit there and watch it till it goes 10 a.m. till you get your randomized number at 10 a.m. Everyone will be randomized. Wait your time. Once that time goes through, you actually get into Idaho's system, find out your tags. So it will also be updated on there. They'll say sold out or not, and just scroll through that list really quickly. And once you do add it to your cart, and you added your, hunting license as well, you do have that. Basically, they say it's reserved for 20 minutes. No one can steal it from you once in your cart, but I like to try to check out fast as I can. I have my credit card information saved in my computer. So it's just click, done, purchase, and I'm off.
Can you buy a deer tag and an elk tag?
I don't believe you can. I've tried before, and I usually, after I submit it, I've gotten kicked back out and have to wait in line again. That's a damn good question, and I'm not sure I know the answer to it.
I think you can.
You think you can?
I think so. But again, this is one of those ones I'm trying to remember if I've ever tried it.
I've never tried it.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never tried it. So it's basically you gotta have patience. But the other big thing we should mention: group apps are not allowed.
Yeah.
So this is where I do have frustration with the system, because if we've been hunting Idaho for 20 some years as a family or whatever. Now we want to go there, and let's say I get a tag, but my family members are all 30, 40,000 number, and they don't get a tag. Now what do? You can't instantly turn back a tag. You can turn it in for partial refund, but not get the full refund. So you can't plan to hunt together as a family, which is very difficult for those camps that have been doing it forever.
You can stay in touch with your buddy. You guys can have a plan together. You can check with him or them and see what what they've got as far as their number in line, and you can try, but it's pretty damn tough.
It's hard, and that's what's very difficult.
Gotcha.
You want to hunt with buddies and friends, so no group apps.
So that's kind of the first out of the gate, Idaho. I would say definitely take a hard look at Idaho. I think it's an awesome state to hunt if you can do it. What else are you guys looking at this year as far as applications? What's your plan? What do you want to hunt?
Everything.
Yeah, but
Brady answer.
Lorenzo?
Whitetail.
Okay.
I'm on a whitetail conquest.
Does that mean that you're going to limit your applications in Western states?
Yes.
Oh, it's at that level.
Yeah, it's at that level.
To what extent?
I am very happy, feel unbelievably lucky, fortunate, blessed, whatever you want to call it. The experiences I've had in the West are like second to none. Some of them, I've been doing it for a very long time, but and it's one of those things where, it's to be in like the top tier of experiences in the West for me, it's getting, I don't want to sound like an asshole by any means, but it's just one of those things, right? It's like I'm looking for something new, and I've never, like I was talking to you the other day, I've never hung a tree stand ever in my life. Never done it. And it's like, man, that's wild. I get to start.
I haven't for whitetail, but I've hunted mule deer out of them.
No, I've never, so I get to start there and like literally get to start from that ground level. And it's fun figuring out these other states and the opportunities that they present just in a completely different way, right? Like multiple buck tags or, doe tags come with it. So no matter what, I'm filling the freezer, coming home. I don't know. I'm on a big whitetail kick.
So will you buy points? You'll continue to buy points
West?
In
the West for sure. And I'm still, look, I'm not putting my bow down in September. That's not an option.
For elk.
Yeah, for elk. So that's not an option. I'm still chasing every elk tag I can possibly get my hands on for September. But as far as like October, November, December goes, like it's Midwest and even a little bit more east. So like South Dakota, North Dakota, Kansas, Nebraska, which we don't cover Nebraska right now, and it's driving me nuts, but doing a lot of good research to get that live. So
gotcha.
But that's
antelope?
my kick. Definitely antelope. Well, you can hunt those early, which is great. I can't sit down.
Do you like how I'm just like leading him right here?
You are.
I'm like, Lorenzo, what do you want to hunt this year? Whitetail. Well, what about elk? Oh, yes, I do elk. Like those.
And yes,
elk.
Let me. I'll wrap this one up with a bow, just like you said before. Whitetail, no mule deer. That's where I'm at.
Okay. Fair enough. You'll apply for muleys and
I'll do points.
Points.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I'll apply for elk and antelope.
Okay.
I'll do points for mule deer, and then I'm going all in on whitetail.
So you're looking from a calendar year. You're looking for antelope early.
Yep.
You're looking for
elk in September.
Yep.
Yep.
And then you're looking whitetail.
Antelope early October, and then whitetail late October, November, December.
October, November, December.
Yep.
Got it. And then for elk, do you have like an idea on what you want to do for elk? Or
yeah, I've got quite a few points in some states. Wyoming being one of them.
Okay.
Utah, but I mean, drawing tags in Utah, even though I'm getting fairly close because I've just been applying there for so long, I can't really guarantee anything there, but decent chance. So those are kind of like my two go-tos right
If you
now.
don't cash in on a state like Wyoming or Utah, are you looking at a state like Idaho or Colorado for general season?
Yeah,
General
Colorado.
season,
Yep.
just over the counter and go hunting.
I know Colorado very well. Just over the years, a lot of good contacts there. So
What about Montana?
No, I feel guilty for some reason saying this, but like, and I do genuinely feel it. But
I feel emboldened. I hate Montana.
I
Sorry,
haven't,
everybody up there in the industry that lives there. I just am like, wow.
I haven't hunted it since I left college. I have not hunted Montana,
Gotcha.
and I feel guilty saying it, but it's the reality.
Everybody goes to Montana. We got a lot of Midwesterners. You're talking
Yeah.
Minnesota, Wisconsin. Those guys, they Michigan, they love Montana, and I get it. And there's obviously great resource up there, but it's like for me, I'm like, man, it's probably a drive thing, you know.
That's that's
and
different.
Yeah.
I might need some advice because, like I said, everything. That's just what I want. But
But you have a general idea.
yeah.
How?
So here's what I need some advice on. So you guys like to joke. Brady's a big elk guy.
Yeah,
You know.
you are a big elk guy.
You're a big elk guy.
So I carry, as most know, I've said it here before, I carry a metric shit ton of elk points in every Western states.
Yes.
I am creeping on, high teens for every state right now. Like Montana, when I calculate, I don't know exactly how many people apply, but just by points, but based on people who apply, like there's only, I think, it's either 36 or 39 non-residents at my point level or higher who apply in Montana every single year. So I'm knocking on the door there for a bomb-ass elk tag. I got a ton of points in Arizona, a ton of points in Utah, which don't mean anything. I carry a lot of points. So like I can draw some pretty badass elk tags potentially this year. Like I could draw an Arizona tag if I wanted to, if I put it in.
I
but I'm
think
just
this
going
is
to weigh my decision. How am I going to fit that in the rest of my schedule? Like,
I don't see a question in any of this.
So
you say yes, do it.
I don't know if I see a question, but I see a theme here, and I think
Yeah.
it's a theme that I talk to people a lot about, and it's why I asked you, like, what do you want to hunt?
Yeah.
I think that's the question right out the gate. When you're building an application strategy, multi-state, and you're looking at this as a whole, it's hard to understand. It's hard to bite off. But I always ask people, what do you want to hunt? So I asked Lorenzo. Lorenzo wants to hunt whitetail. He wants to hunt elk with a bow. He wants to hunt antelope. So that's a great start. That's your starting point, right? From there, you're starting to whittle down into where can I find those opportunities. And I talk. He's got points in Utah. He's got points in Arizona, Wyoming. Antelope. He's got some options for antelope.
Got a lot of options there.
And he knows that if he doesn't draw an elk tag in one of those two states, he's got Colorado as his backup. He already knows that. So he knows what he wants to hunt. And then it's a matter of finding the opportunity to hunt the species that you want, the best opportunity.
Yep.
Is that where you were headed?
Yeah, a little bit. This is like most know I'm not in a rush to ever burn those points though too. I'm willing, if I have to wait another 5-10 years to draw those tags, I'm fine because I'm just going to switch around how I apply.
And that's the second question I always pose to people. So what do you want to hunt? And within that, you hunt that species. What is your expectation of that hunt or that species? So for Brady, if he hunts bull elk, he wants to hunt
Big
a
bull.
quality.
I'm not burning them.
You're not going to burn
I'm
high
not going to go. I'm not going to go OTC elk unless I pick one up
You're
an
not
add-on
going to
tag.
burn. Let's say you had 15 elk points in Colorado. You're not burning your 15 elk points on a unit that you could have drawn with 8.
Nope.
You're going to kind of keep chasing it.
Chasing it out. I'm going to wait my time, and that's what I'm doing with most of my elk points. Is just waiting my time for the best of the best unit, which I'm fine for. So my strategy again is just pick up as many mule deer tags as I can get, eat a bunch of those tags, trying to find some trophy deer, and go on some bear hunts.
So that's generally what I tell people is like, what do you want to hunt? What do you value? Like, what is your expectations for the species that you want to hunt? If it's any bull elk, a lot of opportunities. You can find them.
And I want to add in a variable to Brady's dilemma, situation, whatever you want to call it. You would agree, and I know you would. The elk hunting right now is really good.
Man, is it great.
It is it is in a very good place. So if you have the points and you have the opportunity and you can hit it while the going's good.
I can hit it while it's going good.
It is, elk hunting is in a great spot right now.
Yep.
So
Which is why I'm kind of thinking about maybe trying to dump them, one more state maybe this year on elk, because I have the points, and that's why I want to do it too, because I can start over. That's the big thing. Like, I don't want to keep waiting and draw it when 10 years later, when I could have already gone and rebuilt those points again and just had 2 quality hunts for the points. I don't want to get into no man's land.
Yeah.
And so I'm weighing that in my strategy right now too. Like, all right, am I willing to go 10 plus more years, or can I burn them right now on a quality hunt, which I know there's some out there. I've looked at them last year. I was on the fence about applying and then waiting it out. And
yeah, and that's part of the whole, strategy. You don't want to sit on points. You want to use your points, and you're in a great spot where you can essentially hunt a different state every year, and you can expect a quality
very
hunt.
quality hunt, yeah.
Yeah, which is a great spot to be in. It's the reason that we were always harping on, continuing to apply and continue to build points.
Yep.
I'm the exact opposite from you. I've got a lot of deer points in a lot of places. So I've got deer points in Arizona, Wyoming. So I've kind of collected points, and I'm looking at opportunities to build those. I don't want to burn them all in the same year.
Mm-hmm.
I want to, plan and go on one year and, one the next, and have some opportunities. So,
what about that variable I threw in though? Because on the flip side of what I talked about with Brady, deer hunting is not in a good place.
I mean,
droughts and winters. So
I'm there in Wyoming.
Yeah,
I've got more points than I would need to draw some of those units had I burned those and gone on a Region G hunt or an H hunt or wherever it might be. Western Wyoming, we'll just say, I'd have been in a hell of a lot better place to do so 3 years ago or 2 years ago than I would be now, because the bottom's kind of dropped out on it.
Yeah. So what are you looking at now? Like, you might be waiting 5 years.
Yeah, I'm looking at other parts of the state, which may not offer me the type of animal or hunt that I'm, I was hoping
kind of want
for.
that classic hunt.
Or I'm sitting on them and I'm just seeing what happens, and that's it's one of the risks. You can't predict what's going to happen. But I would say try to burn them as often as you can. I mean, that's one thing that doesn't probably get stated as much, as like every year that you're building another point is a year that you're not getting back in the system for another opportunity to go to some other place in the future that may, require less points, or even chasing that same opportunity again. So
I love the turn and burn strategy.
Yeah, you got to think about turning and burning in some instances.
There's a delicate mix of the two. Earning enough points to be in a spot like Brady is right now, or you with deer, but at the same time, like burning other things and going and making sure you're always out there.
All the deer tags I've ever drawn in the West, and most points I've ever had was 4.
Yeah.
And I burned it on a
great
really
point.
low point unit and shot a phenomenal deer.
Yep. So looking from a 30,000 foot view, those are the questions that I always point people to. What do you want to hunt? What type of experience do you want to have for each individual species? Evaluate that, and then work towards the opportunities to get a permit and go hunting for those species that represents your objectives of that hunt. So those are kind of the first 2 big ones that I always point people to. Beyond that, I always tell people, budget. You definitely have to think about your budget. I would say apply everywhere that you can afford. And there definitely is some states that it's more cost effective to apply in. A point means more in certain states. You look at a state like Colorado, for example, we'll say for elk, right? Sure, you've got to buy the hunting license to then apply and gain a point, but 3 or 5 points goes a whole lot longer, in a state like Colorado than it does in maybe some other states like it does Utah.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're limited on a budget, do research and find the states that it makes the most sense to spend your money and build points. So a state like Colorado is a prime example. It makes tons of sense to build points because you're going to have opportunities pretty quick. You got states like Utah, Nevada, you may apply forever and never draw. So you have to decide if it's worth you putting the money into buying that hunting license every single year and applying, and the chances that you probably won't ever draw. Right. So that's definitely budget, something I think you ought to consider. Do you want to dive into point systems and kind of talk real briefly about what that is?
I want you to guide me through bonus, preference, random.
Yep.
What do those really mean to people? And then maybe we can give some examples and kind of talk about that, because they're all, like, every state does it differently.
Yep. So getting a permit in the West, by and large at this point, it's a lottery drawing. So you're going to apply, and the state's going to conduct a drawing, and then they're going to allocate permits. And you hear people talk about points all the time, preference points, bonus points. So the difference between a preference point and a bonus point. So you have some states that operate on a true preference point system. So an example of that would be Colorado, elk, deer, antelope, right? So preference points essentially gives preference to the individuals that apply with the most points for any given hunt. So if I've got 5 points and Brady has 1 point, he has no random chance of drawing that permit. No. I'm going to be guaranteed the permit because I have more preference points than Brady. So in a true preference point system, there's no randomness to that. It's simply the people with the most points that apply for any given permit are going to draw that permit. So that's a true preference point system.
And this is why I think it's very important to understand these systems, because you could be a person who doesn't understand preference points in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And like, I've never drawn a Colorado tag. Like, why have I never drawn? All these guys keep drawing Colorado tags all the time. Well, maybe you're applying in a unit that you literally think you have a chance to draw, but you really will never draw because you're not a top point holder. You're not that point break system where you can actually draw it with your preference points. So that's something to consider. Mm-hmm. If you're just trying to turn and burn, you can't be applying for tags that take 10 points when you only have 5. Like, you're never going to draw that.
Yep.
Based on that preference point system.
Yeah, you have to understand the draw system first and foremost. Mm-hmm. Yep. And then a bonus point state essentially is, again, it's a drawing. But a bonus point essentially gives you more chances in the drawing. So it's a random drawing, but statistically, the more bonus points that I have, the better my odds get. So if I apply for a hunt in a bonus point system like Nevada, let's say I've got 10 points, I'm going to have 10 chances in the drawing plus 1 for that year's application. Nevada actually squares your bonus points, so you have that many more chances going into the drawing, but it's still a random drawing.
Want to explain squaring?
No, I mean,
it really just benefits people who've been applying longer, a little bit more, because they're like, 1 squared compared to 10 squared, it's a big difference. So it's just kind of more chances in a way, but still random.
Yep. And some states, it's not that way. They don't square them, but they have a bonus point system. So essentially it's still a random drawing. You still have a chance to draw as long as you apply. It's just that statistically, the more bonus points you have, the better your odds get over time.
Yeah. And there's really, in a sense, no guarantee then you're ever going to draw within a bonus point system. You could have max and still not draw because three people with 2 points could take all the tags randomly and never reach even though you statistically had a better chance to draw.
That's a true bonus point system. And then you've got hybrid systems. So you've got preference point hybrid systems, and you've got modified or hybrid bonus point systems where a percentage of the permits are going to be allocated to the people with the most points that apply, and then the other whatever it is, the other percentage of the permits that are available are going to be randomly allocated, and they're going to potentially give weight to the number of points that you've got. So it gets kind of convoluted, and each state does it a little differently. For example, you've got Wyoming, where they're going to give a percentage of the permits to the people that apply with the most preference points. And then the other percentage, they're going to randomly allocate with no weight given to the number of points that an individual has. So in that random side of the draw, somebody that applies for the first year, and then me, I've got 10 points. In the random draw portion of that, we're all in the same playing field. No advantage given, right? Almost said no fucks given. Anyway.
Well, now you should have said that.
Yeah. Should have just went with that.
Right. And then you've got states like Utah where, 50% of the permits are given to the people with the most bonus points, and the other 50% are randomly allocated with weight given to the number of bonus points that you've got. So the more chances I get with the more bonus points that I've got. So that's kind of how those work.
So now that we kind of described all those point system, in your mind, what is the best point system? Is there?
Random, in my opinion. So you've got states, a couple of them. You've got New Mexico, you've got Idaho. Those are true random states, meaning that there's no point system whatsoever, no bonus points, no preference points. Everybody's on an equal playing field. You just throw your name in and see what sticks.
So if I've been applying for 10 years, I've never drawn, and you go in your first year, we're basically on the same playing field.
Yeah. And is that fair? I mean, I don't know. Here's the thing I like about that state. A state like New Mexico, so you got 3 hunt choices when you apply, right? Mm-hmm. And I get to pick my hunt choices. I can stagger them between odds, so I can swing for the fences. I can apply for a really good unit as my first choice. I could apply for a unit that's got better draw odds as my third choice. And when they pull my application, they're going to consider all three of my choices before they move to the next applicant. So in essence, I can do whatever I want with my application, and I have three chances to draw in essence. I like that system because it allows me to tailor my application to the type of hunt that I'm looking for. If I only want to swing for the fences and I only want to apply for the best of the best, I can do that with all three of my choices. Yep. Or if I want to apply for a great unit and then an easy to draw unit as my third choice, I can do that. And maybe lightning strikes and I'm the first guy off the pile and I draw a great hunt, or, maybe I get my third choice. Mm-hmm. So I like their system. The further we've gotten down the road with all these point systems, it's a little bit bleak in terms of guaranteeing yourself permits and some of the great units. So I like the random component of it. I love the fact that when I apply in New Mexico, I can put a 16A, a 16D, a 15, a 34, 36. I can put one of those as my first choice. Maybe I draw it.
Yeah. Do you think point systems are broken?
Yeah, I mean, not broken. They're working to some extent. They're working to some extent, but they're not. They're definitely not meeting demand in most regards. So it can be a little depressing, especially when you start to look at top tier units in a state like Utah, Arizona, Nevada, for example. Mm-hmm. It can seem a little bit bleak. You start looking at once in a lifetime type species like moose, sheep, goat, bison. Yeah. It can be pretty depressing. That's just where it is right now. That's why it's important that you have multi-state strategy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, jumping back on what you said, like the whole random set in New Mexico, it's like, that's the sole reason I drew my Oryx tag. Mm-hmm. Never applied for Oryx in my life. First year I applied, I drew.
Yep.
If that was a preference point system, well, I'd be way behind the curve and wouldn't have drawn that tag. But because it was a random chance and I just got lucky.
Yep.
I had to apply, but still got lucky and drew a tag.
Run us through. So there's typically two ways that states attack application. So there's states that require you to buy a hunting license to apply, and then there's states that require you to front the cost of the permits that you apply for. Can you give some examples of those, and like how does that work?
I mean, yeah, there's a majority of them now are switching to you have to buy some sort of hunting license to apply. Mm-hmm. I mean, in Colorado, you got the small game license.
But it's only $89.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nevada, you don't have to, but if you want to actually build points, you got to buy a hunting license every single year.
That one's $155.
Yep. And then, even like in New Mexico, you have to front the money of everything. You still get everything back after you don't draw, but it's like
$65 hunting license to apply.
The hunting license as well. So it's like, I think majority of states now are switching over to some sort of hunting license. I can't think of one right off the top of my head.
Wyoming doesn't require, but you do have to front the cost of the permits. And typically states that require you to front the cost of the permit, the hunting license to apply is pretty cheap. Yeah. So you're talking $89 in Colorado, $65 in New Mexico. Mm-hmm. Utah, I think, is $75, I want to say. Relatively cheap, but you don't have,
fronting that for a lot of states is pretty expensive. That's where Colorado, for example, and you're not fronting that entire cost. You're just doing the hunting license and then the points and everything.
And again, I always tell people this is a cost value judgment you have to make, right? So you've got to start to look at the states where the opportunities are available to you relatively quickly and decide if the amount of money over time is worth it to continue with that state and that species. It's a cost value judgment.
Because it adds up quick.
But it adds up very quick. How much do you think you spend a year in application fees?
I don't look.
You don't?
On purpose, I don't look.
How much
I don't want to know.
Do you have an idea?
What do I apply in like at least 9 states?
I think mine's typically about, I want to say around $2,300.
Sounds familiar, yeah. Because there's states like, Montana where I'm fronting the fees. That's going to be real expensive for a while.
If you're unsuccessful, you get that money back.
Get the money back. But it's like the amount of money I put out at once, that's got to be a crazy amount of money. Like, that I'm floating out in the app world during the next 6 months. Like,
but out of pocket.
Out of pocket, it's probably, $2,000, $2,500 to do everything. And I've definitely, like you said, weighed what I want to do depending on like what the state offers me. Like I've never applied, Wyoming, all the limited entry type stuff like sheep or anything like that because I know I'm never gonna draw.
So let's talk about that. Why do you apply?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Bighorn sheep?
Yeah.
Montana?
Not Montana.
Not Montana.
No.
Why not?
I'm so far behind. Like, it's just not even an option.
I mean, it's a random
I know,
bonus.
but
No?
no.
Still not interested?
Yeah.
Wyoming?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
You're creeping up in points then?
Colorado, Wyoming.
Colorado?
Yep.
Gotcha. You don't?
Not in Wyoming because I was behind the curve, and now that they made the recent changes, I'm never going to draw it.
Yeah, the recent changes hurt.
So how do you distinguish between applying for the big species? So moose, sheep, goat, bison, we'll say bison. How do you distinguish where you do apply and where you don't apply and why?
I mean, that's a tough one. I think where I apply now is because I've been applying for them for so long that I'm invested in the system. I have to keep going. I think I'll never probably draw all of them, but I feel like I have a chance.
Yeah.
I have a chance, so I'm going to keep doing it, and it's a minimum fee every single year. It's just buying points.
So you apply in states where you have a chance.
I have a chance.
So in Wyoming, you've already said you don't really have a chance because there's not a random component at this point.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Now that I understand your question better.
Yeah.
So I'm invested in, for sheep, I'm in bighorn sheep. I'm invested in Utah, Wyoming, and Colorado.
Okay.
I'm invested in those programs. So like, yes, I keep going there, but I apply in Idaho and New Mexico every year because of the random.
And then Utah and Colorado also bonus point or modified in Colorado,
Yes.
but you have a chance.
A chance.
It's random draw.
Random.
Yeah.
I mean, do you call it a chance? I don't know, but I guess it's not less than zero.
It's a chance.
Yeah.
It's a chance.
Yeah. So it's been a hard decision to make on which states I do it for, but like I feel like since I am invested in certain ones, I'm going to continue to go through there and pull through and wait another 20, 30 years if I make it that long. And
So you're a Nevada resident.
Nevada
Do you apply
resident.
for sheep in Nevada?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm invested there because I'm a resident, which makes sense.
So you have more tags available to
More
you.
tags available to me,
Yes.
which is great.
It's also a random draw
Yep.
with a bonus point system.
Yep. So I could draw anytime.
So that makes sense.
makes sense.
Do you apply for sheep in Utah? Bison?
Yep.
Goat?
I apply for everything there.
Okay. Also random.
Also random.
And I
I've been
assume-
invested for a long time.
And you're buying a hunting permit to apply for all species anyway.
Yep.
So for the extra $10, why the hell not, right?
It makes sense for me to do that.
That makes sense because you got a random chance. You never know. I mean, Arizona sheep,
Yep. I do Arizona sheep as well.
same reason. Because
Same
you
reason.
buy the hunting license to apply
me
for other
too.
species
Yeah.
like elk and antelope. You apply
Right.
for antelope
I do. But
Arizona?
I'm really thinking about it. That's
Yes.
It's
I
pretty
mean,
dumb to
for
do.
$15.
Yeah. I mean, I do, but
Whatever it is.
you start to realize like kind of how dumb sometimes when you start running through this. Like, yes, I do. Don't know why, but I do.
Well, I mean, again, that's a state where you have a chance.
I mean, yeah.
Arizona is a modified
guess.
bonus point system. So you have a chance. There is a random component to that draw.
But at the same time, though, I think about so I got my brother's Bryson Blake. So I'm their person who deals with all their apps every single year. So I run through everything, tell them what to apply for.
They giving you a kickback on that?
No,
No.
never. Haven't gotten anything. Come on, guys. But it's like, I keep talking to them every year. Like, do you really want to continue down the path you're going? Like, I'm telling them how bleak some of this stuff is. I'm explaining to them, my dad's situation in Colorado, how he has whatever now, 23, 24 elk points.
How do you know how bleak something is? When you say we've thrown that around a little bit, we say like this is for me, for example, the opportunity to draw a bison tag in my home state of Utah, and I say that's a pretty bleak scenario for me. I drew a mountain goat tag after 17 years of applying. Like, how do you know? Like, what is bleak to you?
I basically look at how many people are ahead of him in points, how many people are applying with all that thing, how many tags they give out, and then trying to calculate, theoretically, if all those people stay alive and no one dies and no one switches units to, I never know when people are jumping around switching units, you're theoretically not ever going to draw based on that's a preference point state until you're X number of years old.
Where do you do that? Like, how much time do you spend on draw odds?
I draw is heavily this time of year. So that's where I go draw is. I go the detailed draw is based for that individual unit. Look at how many people are applying at every point level, how many people are drawing at every point level, how many tags you're giving out. And I can basically use that information to calculate if it's kind of, in a sense, worth it to keep chasing that. That's where I'm like, for them, we're talking about big three, like moose, sheep, goat.
Yep.
Like, yeah, my brothers didn't start when I started, but they're creeping up on double-digit points for every state. But it's like, is it worth it continuing on the path for applying for, moose in all these states? Or should you just stop doing moose, sheep, goat, save all that money, but you might be still buying a hunting license for other species, so it's probably still worth a little bit to do it, but is that money better spent in a bank,
A cost value analysis.
and investing it somewhere else, and then going on a moose hunt or a Dall sheep hunt in Alaska instead of trying to chase these units down here. You're probably never ever going to draw based on your point level.
Yep.
Yeah, there's always that random chance. It's like winning the lottery, but is there, where's your money best spent? And how to try to figure that out for the big three is hard because there's always, you see, people all the time drawing the first time or minimum points. But I'm like, do we keep doing the same path? Or in Colorado, for example, do you just burn your elk points and don't be like my dad who waited a long time. And then, the things changed and tag allocations changed and he was going to catch it, but now he's never going to catch it. So he has to change his plan, like trying to figure that out. That's best for them to realize like, they're limited on time off. They both run their own companies. And when do you want to burn those points? So you can start over again. Like that's the biggest thing I'm trying to figure out for them right now is, all right, you're getting high point level, but we should probably start dumping it to get points again. So you actually have a quality hunt now rather than never having a quality hunt.
So draw odds
is huge. I love draw odds.
Draw odds are huge.
Yes.
We spend a significant amount of time here at GOHUNT, and I feel pretty confident in saying we have the best draw odds on the market.
Feel extremely confident.
Yeah. So I want to read a definition because this might seem like commonplace to some people who've been playing the game for a long time, but maybe for a lot of people it isn't. So I wanted to read just like a definition and just maybe some like little nuances about the actual draw odds, what it is. So draw odds are the displayed percentage odds you have your hunt application of being selected in a state drawing and being awarded a permit to hunt. Draw odds are not predictive.
Yep.
Not predictive. So odds are based on previous year's known data, including the number of permits that were allocated and what hunts each applicant applied for and how many points they had going into that draw. Draw odds can be used to help assist you in applying for hunts that you are likely to draw. Draw odds cannot be predicted due to the fact that applicants can and do fluctuate between hunts that they apply for. Year to year, permit numbers fluctuate, so it would be extremely tough to predict odds.
Yeah, you can't.
Well, you also, a lot of these states are changing their actual tag quotas, like very close to the deadline, to like the actual apply deadline.
But it is the way that you can apply your points towards hunts that you will potentially or likely, being very likely to draw.
Yeah.
So understanding draw odds is extremely important.
Very important.
And I would say it's a cornerstone of our platform.
Well, you have to be able to use draw odds. Like, so you go to draw odds and you see this number that like you have to be able to now use that number, right? And that's why we facilitate a bunch of other data to help you use that number you're seeing in front of your face. And what it is if all things were to stay equal next year, you can now look at how many applicants, all this stuff, and you can now extrapolate in your own head the likelihood of you getting that tag with, Brady's talking about his dad with the number of people in front of him with more points that have applied in that same hunt, all this stuff. And so it's not like that number you see isn't the end all be all. You have to now use that number.
You have to use that to interpret it.
That is your number you are now going to use to interpret the rest of the information you're seeing. And, a lot of people talk about predictive draw odds and all that stuff, and it would be so amazing to be able to do. But there's so much variable. There can't be a valuable predictive data.
How often do you play for the same hunt year in and year out?
Not very often.
Not that often.
No.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of like I definitely vary mine in states where I'm not looking to, I have in my mind. So for me, I've got, let's say, for example, I've got enough points to draw a permit in Arizona for deer. That's going to be my hunt that year. I'm going to apply those points towards that hunt that year. Other states and other applications, I'm probably going to mix up my applications for better hunts, just in case I get lucky and draw a really great hunt. So I may not apply for the same hunt that I applied for last year because I got a different plan in mind. So people definitely fluctuate. I mean, people have, you have trends per se, maybe a little bit. You can look at year over year draw odds often, and they will kind of hold a pattern, especially in a preference point state like Colorado. You can kind of start to see patterns. But you have to be able to interpret the data as well as the actual odd
number you
itself.
See.
That's generated.
That is the number you use to now interpret the rest of the data to then develop your decision making on where you want to apply.
Yep.
And that's where I think, just like you're saying, not just looking at that number and using that as end all be all, looking at how many applications, how many tags you're drawn at every point level, ahead of you, below you, like taking all that into account is very huge. That's why like application strategy article is really great, because you can see like, all right, they're going to be cutting tags, or potentially going to be cutting tags, or potentially adding tags. If you know that information going into it, and you may be a point behind, and now this year they're going to add 50 tags to it, well, maybe you could be you could be in the money. So like you have to look at a bigger picture rather than just draw odds. But draw odds are very, very important. Like Trail and I think have talked a lot about that's our number one tool we look at all the time. We have expectations, what we want to do. We kind of know what states we're looking at, know what species, and then we just dive into draw odds and look at everything that's available in there.
Yeah, draw odds and app strategies, I look at those a lot. I mean, I bring up the example of Wyoming antelope. So last year we cut a lot of antelope hunts based on a lot of winter kill. So there's a lot of antelope that died, and we went through and included all the cuts in that application strategy articles for individual units. You can then use, the number of permits that are being allocated that year against previous years, and you can start to see how many points it took to draw, and you can say, okay, if they cut this many permits, what's that going to do to the number of points it's going to take to draw that unit. So you can use that information. So I would say for me, those are definitely like two of the tools that I use all the time is, draw odds and then application strategies. So
how do you utilize 5-year trends in the draw odds detail pages?
Yeah. So you can look at, so like if you go into your insider account, you click in draw odds, you click on the state, the species you're interested in, and it's going to bring up this like huge tables of giant tables. And it's going to be the draw odds for every hunt in that state for that species. And then I may start cruising down through that, and I can look at my point level. And, I always tell people, look at, point levels 1 or 2 less than you have, right, currently. And you're going to start to see like, okay, there's maybe 4 or 5 different hunts that I could potentially draw with the number of points I have. And then I'm going to start clicking on each individual draw odd. So each unit, right? So I'm going to click on that unit. That's going to open up a detailed draw odds page. And that's what you're talking about. It gives you that 5 years of data. So you're looking at 5 years of draw history. And that's where you can really start to look at things like point creep, right? We've talked about point creep, and hopefully people kind of understand what point creep is, but you really do need that 5 years of data to look back in time to see how much it's creeping, if it's creeping, and you can start to predict. You can start to predict using that to some extent, your chances of drawing at your point level. So when you look at those tables, you'll see the percentages over 5 years, and you can kind of start to see those diagonaling in, increasing point levels if you are experiencing point creep. So that's how I use detailed draw odds pages and history of draw odds, is to kind of help me predict if it took that many points last year, how many did it take the year before and the year before that. So if that's the case, what are my chances this year based on the number of people that applied?
And sometimes point creep gets better.
Sometimes it gets better. Sometimes they allocate more permits.
And I've looked at it, it's like, it was all of a sudden 100% last year, and it took a lot more points the year before. Maybe that trend will continue.
Yep.
Like you can see all that on the detail pages really easily, how that's trending, and if it's jumping back or going ahead. So,
yep. So use those.
The point you made, you individually can better predict.
Oh, for sure.
But as far as a program to take in all of that information,
you know what I mean? Can predict to the extent that you can based on the information that's available
of that
to you.
single hunt that you're looking at. Yeah.
And that's why we do draw odds the way that we do them, is because we are basing the odd based on known data. How many people applied at what point level for what hunts, and the number of permits that were allocated for that year. That's known data.
It's our draws are an exact representation of what happened the year before.
And then you can use that individually
to now interpret
and make the best choices for you. But you can't do it blindly. Like you've got to. I cannot emphasize this enough. Like you've got to do due diligence on your own. Like we can do this podcast, we can do videos, we can do we can do application strategy articles. We can do a lot of things to like help you understand, but you really have to dive in and do it. And it's not all that complicated. You just got to put some time and effort into it. And I'll tell you, like, it will pay dividends. Like if you don't have an account, get one. If you have an account, like use it to its fullest potential. It'll pay off in the end.
I even like jumping back in and reading old application strategy articles.
For sure.
I want to see what the information was, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, compare it to information that's current today. Like, what are these trends happening? I can jump back and see all that information. I can see all these populations going up, down, how tag changes are impacting people, and looking at then detail pages and looking at filtering 2.0 and using all these tools collectively together to try to make the best plan that I have going in the next year.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to talk about, maybe a couple more things that I think can help people out. Give me an idea of how the states do the timing. Mm-hmm. So how does that work? You said that early in the podcast, you said you were working on the article for upcoming 2024
application deadlines. Yep.
So what is in that article, and how do the states do their draws across the time frame?
Yeah, so every state's different. Certain states have certain species they do early. They do other species later on. Sometimes the states that they do later on, they're waiting on big game counts for certain species like antelope or deer in the winter range, and so their draws are a bit later. So it's really important to look at every single state of when their deadline is and understand like some of these are, a deadline for buying points as well. Some have different points only purchase periods later on. Like we got some big ones coming up, like Alaska, usually December 15th.
Yep.
And
for
then applications. And then, like Wyoming elk, that's usually January 31st. Mm-hmm. So like those are going to be right off the bat hitting hard. And then you're going to start looking at, okay, what states are coming up next? When do I need to start, doing some research on these states? And basically it's going to be like, when's the app open date on this article? When's the application close date? Are these approved or tentative dates? Because a lot of these states right now haven't even discussed when 2024 information is.
But generally they're about
it's the same,
month.
Third Tuesday in this month or this certain day, and I just try to do my best estimate right now based on I have tons of previous years I go off of, try to find the actual day. Then once they're finally updated, I go and update that.
I don't know that all the states, I don't think they intended to do this, but it is nice that they did it. They're generally staggered. Mm-hmm. So it's not like everything is due the same time or the same month. They typically stagger them out.
Yep.
So you mentioned Wyoming elk. That's one of the first ones out the gate, always January 31st deadline. Then you kind of moving into Arizona, which is normally like February for elk and antelope. And then you kind of start to taper in the rest of the draws for the different states. And it is nice that they are staggered because in a lot of cases, you'll kind of understand, whether you might have drawn or not drawn before you have to apply in another state.
Yep. And then it's good too to know sometimes, hey, when am I going to get that money back from Wyoming to then turn it around and use it somewhere else? Or the Wyoming one's not really a good example because they hold it on forever. But that's why the staggered thing is good to look at. You can, filter everything up by state. You can filter it up as a draw, if it's OTC, if it's points only, looking at points only deadlines. Like it's a very important article to really look at and start honing in exactly where you're going to apply. And don't be one of these guys that apply on the last day of application deadline.
I do that.
Yeah. Darn it. Systems crash. You can't get in. You already know what you're going to apply for. Some of these states allow you to modify it once you've actually put your app in. No additional changes, no cost. Just might as well throw it in there and then modify it.
Plus, you're on the top of the stack.
Top of the pile. Yeah.
Right? Isn't that how that works?
I think if you're the last, you're at the top. They just start at the bottom. The first guy that applies, he's on the bottom. You just go up from there.
That's why you're trying to be last.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, 11:59. No, don't do that.
That's nerve-wracking.
But yeah, they do stagger them. They normally run, like we're saying, Idaho OTC December 1st, and then January is kind of the next window. Or I guess you have Alaska December 15th for the draw species or draw hunts. And then you've got elk in January in Wyoming, Arizona, February. You've got March typically for New Mexico, and you really start to stagger those all the way out through like June.
Yep.
So that's kind of your time frame is really, I would say, January to June, July.
January and June are the big months. That's when you want to be living on Insider, figuring out your plan.
Last thing I was going to ask you. I just would like to, you've kind of ran me through a little bit, and you probably don't want to get into specifics, but what are you looking to do this year, Brady? Species, states, anything that you're excited about? And then I wanted to ask you, if there is one tag for one species that you're hoping for both of you, what would it be this year?
My strategy going into this year, it's a tough one, Trail. I'm just building my strategy right now and getting it rolling. I do have a plan. I do have some tags already in my pocket for next year. So I know some states I'm going to already.
You're not going to say?
No.
All right, fair enough. Species? Not going to say?
Species, again, I'm just trying to get mule deer tags. Like I really just want a couple quality mule deer tags.
Just avoid the first question then. What is there a species, a hunt that like if you could wave a magic wand and you would have it next year, what would it be?
I mean, Arizona mule deer tag.
Arizona mule deer.
Yeah.
I like that.
I have a lot of points.
Okay.
I could cash them in and draw a
How many
quality
points
hunt.
you got?
A lot.
100.
A lot.
You won't even say how many points you have?
No.
Okay, then. All right.
I have a lot.
So Arizona mule deer?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I think it would just be a really fun hunt. I just want to...
Above anything else? Sheep, moose, goat, bison. Arizona mule deer's it.
Sheep tag's cool, but it's a sheep tag. Like...
This guy.
A sheep tag's cool, but it's a sheep.
But I mean, like, it's a sheep.
I mean, it's a sheep.
I mean, I'm really... I don't know what the term is. Like, I just got back from, Tajikistan a year ago.
Okay.
I shot the world's biggest sheep species already in my life. Like, I'm very fortunate to have done that and be poor the rest of my life because of it. But...
So deserts just...
No, deserts really don't intrigue me.
I can't do it. This guy. I can't do it.
Lorenzo's going to walk out of here.
A desert sheep is like the single coolest.
Is that it for you?
If I drew a desert tag,
Desert sheep.
Desert sheep for
Home
me.
state?
Home state desert sheep.
That's
oh,
it?
man. Oh, man.
if I drew a desert tag and they allowed me to convert it into a mule deer tag in the best unit of that state as well, like similar quality, I would turn that in a heartbeat.
If you drew a desert sheep
You are
tag in
going to be struck by
Arizona,
lightning.
you would turn it, and if you had the opportunity to swap it for a mule deer tag statewide,
You
would turn
Strip.
that sheep
You'd
tag
go
in.
to the strip.
Yeah, I'd swap it.
Wow.
I can't talk to you anymore, I don't think.
Obviously, I dream to draw one of those. Like, I'm not saying I don't ever want
I
to
know.
do it, but yes, mule deer are king. They literally are.
Yikes. Big elk guy. That coming
He's
from a big elk guy.
elk guy. Coming from a big elk guy.
That's
Yeah.
cool. I just...
Desert sheep in my home state. Oh, man. Please.
That's it for you?
Please.
Yeah.
What
Bow
about you,
hunt?
Yeah, I'd bow hunt it for
Bow
sure.
hunt
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
Man, I've gotten a real bug. Like I would really like to hunt bison.
Really?
Yeah, so archery bison in my home state of Utah, and I don't care if it's the Henrys or the Book Cliffs. I think that would be awesome. And I don't know why. I mean, this has been kind of like a Johnny come lately, infatuation. But I think bison are just such a cool animal, and I would love the
It's the
opportunity.
American heritage of hunting.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
And I just finished a few books recently about bison, and I'm really enamored. I think it'd be really cool to bow hunt bison in my home state. So that'd be it for me. So I'm putting that out there into the cosmos. It's going to come back to me.
So is it going to work for me with home state?
I think it
sheep?
is. I think we're going to be sitting right here.
You with a bison tag. And
Me with
a
an
sheep
archery
tag.
bison tag, you with a sheep tag, and him with an Arizona deer tag.
Or I'm struck by lightning.
Or that.
because of what you said. Yes.
Or for the blasphemy you put out in the world.
I mean, mule deer are so much cooler.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean,
You can go on so many mule deer hunts.
And they're all different.
Yeah. Your sheep is like once. It's like your one hunt.
Yeah.
And you're going to turn that in to go chase an animal that you could chase in all these other states.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
Just
can
making
be-
sure.
It can. That's the great thing. It's
The
freedom.
eye of the beholder.
You can do what you want. I think it's good. Not great, but good.
I mean, I do have another wild hair. I really want to do a caribou hunt.
That'd be great.
Badly.
I like that.
So that's right up there too.
I like that.
I just love adventure hunts.
I wanted to put that out there in the cosmos because I think that's how it's going to come back around
Yeah,
for
right.
us.
That's how that works too.
I'm putting
Yeah.
good vibes out there, and they're going to come back around. Anything else? As far as applications, getting ready to go, strategy. I mean, looking at it from a 30,000 foot view. Any advice that you would give to anybody?
Be a sponge.
Okay.
Soak up every bit of information that is possible as presented to you. Consume it all. Learn it all. Dissect it. Ask questions if you don't understand it. Like literally figure out how every single draw system works and how to develop a multi-state strategy, because that is literally the best way to live your life as a hunter who wants to continually hunt as you get older. You have to start doing it right now. If you haven't started doing it yet, you should probably jump on board and figure out how to develop a
It's
multi-state.
not too late.
It's not too late at all.
Definitely not.
And there's certain states that are obtainable. Like you don't have to go crazy and do 9, 10 different states every single year and, sell your kidney and sell everything in your house to try to afford trying to get points and start building up that strategy. You can do it affordably. Just figure out what species are your dream, start doing some points for that, and figure out what you can draw now, what you can draw 5 years, what you're searching for 10 years, what's going to be obtainable to you.
That's going to be my last piece of advice is like I continually hear people say like I'm too late. I didn't get in early enough. It's just too late. It's not too late. There are so many hunts that you can draw with very few points. It's not too late. Get in, do the research, and go hunting because there's still tons of hunts that you can do, and it's definitely not too late. It might be too late for some of the best, top tiers. If you're looking for the best of the best, the cream of the crop, it's probably too late in a lot of cases. But if you want to hunt elk every year, if you want to hunt mule deer, you want to hunt antelope, it's definitely not too late. That's my take on you.
Completely agree.
What last piece of advice do you have for folks applying?
That I completely agree with that. It's not too late. The amount of hunts you can go on between 2 and even like 7 points. You know what I mean? In some of these states, between 2 and 7 points, you can go on so many different great, phenomenal hunts. It's not that long, especially when you start staggering the states properly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I complain about cost sometimes, and I justify buying a whole lot of shit that I don't need. I rein in a few of those purchases.
There you go.
It's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
So, well, cool. Thanks. I thought that was a good kickoff. I wanted to get to it early. We've got Idaho coming up, so I wanted to touch that and just get people thinking about application season.
It's coming up quick.
Yep.
Very quick.
So good luck. I can't wait till we're all here recapping.
Talking about what tags we have.
I know what one I've got. I know what
which one I've got too, right?
Archery Bison, here I come.
Yeah. All right.
Shout out to young Omar.
Shout out young Omar.
Omar's getting jack shit this year.
Young Omar, podcast producer today.
Young Omar. With
Shout out.
No tags.
No tags.